Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison. I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising as we convene our fourth of five sessions on regenerative health. Today, I want to draw from Gabor Mate's latest opus, The Myth of Normal, to frame our discussion and to underscore what I think is a singularly important point to observe about what Stephanie Mines and her colleagues have been bringing to us over the past several days uh, about what I would say is the revolutionary nature of their message. Gabor Mate, you all probably know, he's been on Humanity Rising several times. His books and his corpus of material have been drawn upon by multiple uh, speakers and presenters on Humanity Rising. He's one of the world's foremost specialists on the effect of trauma on the whole birthing process and childhood and the effect that trauma has on the formation of various diseases. In his latest book, Myth of Normal, he makes the observation that even though Western science and countries in North America and Western Europe primarily pride themselves on having the best healthcare systems in the world, actually, the reality is that they're among the worst. The United States, for example, which 75 years ago was considered to be the healthiest country in the world, is now ranked the worst country in the developed world. I think it places something like 79th on the index of healthy countries. And this is worth us bringing into our conversation this week because the effect of Western civilization, the effect of all the pollutants we put in our air and our water and our food, all the vaccines that we subject our children to, the way we deal with nature, the way we deal with gender, the way we deal with stress and trauma is all considered normal. But as Gabor Mate points out in his book, it's the opposite of normal. And it's our unawareness of this that actually constitutes a major part of our predicament. So, what Stephanie and her colleagues are bringing forth to us is actually nothing new. It's something that is based on a remembrance, a reconnection with that which is actually primordial and very ancient, but which has been forgotten by Western civilization. And now, at the apogee point of Western science and dogmatism, we're bearing witness to the collapse in the health of Western civilization. And so, as we ponder this, and as we remember back to the indigenous, the ancient, the Eastern ways of understanding the human being and understanding the process of birthing and raising children into the future, into the next generation, it's important that we contemplate the myth of normal that pervades our cultures, and so that we can open up for ourselves a window of perspective that will enable us to rejuvenate our health by recalling that which the ancients knew and that which we've forgotten. So, thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Humanity Rising. As week by week we push the boundaries of normal and we seek to bring into the common parlance information and healing techniques that can liberate the soul and heal the body and build solidarity and community. That's what Humanity Rising has been about since the very beginning. So thank you. And now I'd like to bring Stephanie Mines onto the program. And Stephanie, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. You are a pioneer of the revolution in health and well-being. And I just want to honor you and thank you very deeply for all that you and your colleagues are doing.
Thank you, Jim. And as usual, your introductory comments are spot on. I do want to say that I have had, particularly recently, some wonderful integrative opportunities with the medical profession. So everything you're saying is completely correct. I also want to mention the wonderful Dr. Rupa Maria, who's written Inflamed, that really debriefs the nature of our current crisis in healthcare, that I am proposing that people like Dr. Rupa Maria become the healthcare leaders that we are waiting for, and that we revamp healthcare entirely with women at the helm. Everything you said is correct, but I want to hold out that there are, within that destructive system, there are innovative, compassionate, and present healthcare providers. I've worked closely with them recently, and they respect me and my offerings and are completely available to be of humanistic service. But you have to seek them out, you have to advocate for them, and that can't be done easily by people who are vulnerable and in distress. So everything you said is correct. I encourage advocacy, learn how to advocate, and that's a lot of what this program is about. This is a program, and today our focus emphasizes this aspect of it, about transmission, about a legacy, because this concept of women-led healthcare is not new to me. It is a legacy that I have inherited, that has come through me, and that I am really passionate, deeply devoted, dedicated to passing on to others. And that's really the center stage for today, is that transmission, that passage. So we will be featuring the voices of young mothers. Young mothers, I believe, are the healthcare leaders of our future leaders, because they hold them in their bodies and in their arms. And so we must listen to them. We must learn from their experience. And you're going to have the opportunity to do that today. We're going to open with the elders. So I'd like to read a poem from my book, The Great Physician, published by Kindred. And for those of you who want to really dive much more deeply into what we're skirting the surface of in this series, there is the current Mother's Day issue of Kindred, in which you will see articles, videos, interviews with all of our, most of our presenters, not every single one, most of our presenters. And Kindred is a publisher of regenerative health material. And I want to read from The Great Physician, My Crone Years. And the fire in my soul burns as if I were just born. Is it only the beauty of my words that are left for me? I wear them like bracelets for my healing hands. My shadow on the forest floor meets me. She bends down while my spirit ascends. I defy the manipulation of this decaying culture. I defy the manipulation of this decaying culture. But of what value are the protests of an old woman who writes poems? What is the value of an old woman who writes poems begging people to rise up? Oh, my dying country, you sacrifice your brilliance for petty toys. Oh, my dying country, you sacrifice your brilliance for petty, cheap toys. But still I cry, my God, it is you who has delivered me for these times. So I will not shut up or shut down. I am yet the star child born for these times. I am yet the star child you have brought forth for a hidden redemption in that ropey, tangled undersand of the forest floor made by the wanderings of my people down there in the dusty tunnels with the infinitesimal creatures we depend on. There is my salvation, my family that cultivates my stubborn, resurgent entelechy. Thank you. And now we'd like to bring forward a video that will be introduced by my colleague, Dr. Antonella Sansone. Antonella, yes, please come on. And the video is of Maha Al Musa.
Maha Al Musa.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Maha Al Musa. And Antonella will tell you about Maha.
Yes. Maha is a dear friend of mine. She is of Palestinian Lebanese origin. Her father was a Palestinian refugee from 1948, Muslim, and her mother Lebanese Christian. Maha was kidnapped by her father from her mother at 6 months with her 2-year-old brother to be taken to Australia. She was sent to boarding school at 4 and had no mother until 7, when her father remarried. With her relationship with her mother severed at a very young age, Maha grew up without a sense of belonging to Australia. She met her biological mother in Beirut at the age of 33, after her father showed her for the first time her photo and she started searching for her mother. Her mother had not known of her whereabouts for all that time. She had been having difficulties conceiving a child, but 6 months after meeting her mother, she became pregnant. Her own 3 births and supporting pregnant mothers through her courses was her healing and allowed her to reconnect to her Palestinian grandmother and be guided and strengthened by her Palestinian lineage. As Ibu Robin say, birth triumphs over disaster, thus over trauma too. Maha is the founder of Embodied Birth and Belly Dance Birth, and for almost 30 years, she has presented the Dance of the Womb, which is the title of her book endorsed by renowned Michelle O'Don and social anthropologist and author Sheila Kissinger. Maha has always encouraged mothers to embody their womb wisdom, to connect with their innate knowing, the language of sacred birth, the sacred feminine voice and story that lives within every crevice of her expanded body, her hips, her cervix, her pelvis, and more. She also encourages mothers to forge the psychic highway between themselves and their baby to awaken the bond that lives between these two worlds that is gifted as global love consciousness. I was invited by Maha to attend her course and was mind blown by the embodied lyrics of her language and teaching, and how the sacredness and agelessness of motherhood and birth transpired through her movements. Still now, at the age of 63. Maha's work is becoming very popular in China and Vietnam, where she regularly travels to, and is growing in other Eastern countries, probably because of the connection with their Middle Eastern origins, but also online internationally. And we can put in the chat the link to her website and their courses.
Dancing in slow rhythmic circles, circling, 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 spiraling, 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 wave-like motions, moving in and out and around time and space. Maternal birth, womb wisdom, as we sip from the nectar of knowledge of that maternal womb. May we all remember that birth is not separate from the land, that birth is not separate from justice, that birth is not separate from the dignity of a mother standing in her maternal truth with her baby, with her children. And let us all remember that every baby is born on country, its mother's womb. And may the consciousness of love through birth infiltrate and nectar its perfume through the world, and bring us all into the understanding that birth can heal, that birth is about elevating love consciousness. Welcome to the sacred circle. Mama, stay.
Thank you so much, Antonella, for sharing your dear friend with us. I, as an elder, am receiving her transmission. And I dearly hope that all the young women watching now and who will see this recording will receive the bounty of Maha's transmission to us. Please, when you see her, I know you do see her there in Australia, please give her my gratitude for the magnitude, the voluptuous transmission of what it means to be the mother of medicine.
And may I acknowledge Maha's incredible suffering at this time for the Palestinian. Almost every day she sent me a picture of these children and their mothers, and I share with her this suffering. But for her, it's particularly profound because of her lineage.
We know that if Ibu were there, she'd be driving her vans to these women. She would be gathering up these children. That is the mother of medicine. And we are doing it in our hearts. I received a message today about a baby that was already dying of starvation, trapped in the rubble, her mother trying to reach her. This is the decaying culture that causes so much suffering. That is why the mother of medicine is prophesized to come forth now. That is what is behind this program, this Trailblazer program, the summit that will be happening in November for those people who really want to be part of this lineage, to transmit this legacy. That Mother of Medicine Summit, November 7th through the 9th, is a place to really be embraced, to immerse yourself in the wisdom of the Mother of Medicine with Antonella, with myself, with Cherionna, we have the great privilege of having with us the renowned embryologist, Jaap van der Wal, who has mentored so many of us. He will be present for that summit. You can register for it. The link will be in the chat. And that transmission, I pray to God, will allow these tragedies to come to an end. Thank you, Antonella, for sharing Maha with us. Give her our love. Yeah. So now what we want to do is bring forward our community. So please, Cherionna, Chloe, Courtney, come into the room. And we will welcome your responses to that transmission that we all received, young and old, but intended very much for the young mothers. This program is really directed at young mothers, and my own daughter is participating today, and I am honored that she finds time, a busy young mother herself, and perhaps even my new little granddaughter is receiving the transmission of what we intend today. So Dr. Allie Davis was supposed to be with us. Unfortunately, she is not today. She may be able to come online before we end, but at present, she is not with us. And we are going to feature Chloe Waretini and Courtney Graham. Chloe is a student about to launch, perhaps in swing already, with her master's thesis in the Regenerative Health program on embodied motherhood, which she will share with you. And Courtney is a TARA Approach Practitioner, and just like Georg Bach, who nobody sees, is the mastermind technologically behind this program. We all thank Georg every single day when we come online to get organized for the program. And similarly, Courtney, who fortunately you have the opportunity to see, is that mastermind behind the TARA approach and climate change and consciousness. So perhaps since we did just receive this wonderful, sensuous voice of the womb from Maha, maybe we'll do her the honor of responding to it before we go into the next phase, which is to deeply listen to young mothers living in a time of such grief, such destruction, such violence, who have little children, who, of course, they want the world to welcome and be a place of thriving, who are in touch with the suffering of the earth, the suffering of the children of the earth. And how do young mothers carry that and simultaneously transmit hope, optimism, and courage to their children? That's really the topic of today. And we, the elders, like Maha, like me, like Cherionna, Antonella, you're not quite there yet, but we hope we are offering you some transmission as you approach that time. We want to speak to our children, to our sisters, to our daughters. We want to inspire them just as Courtney and Chloe and my own daughter want to inspire their children. We want to inspire you about the prenatal origins of health and the secret of resilience. So, Cherionna, how do you feel having witnessed Maha's transmission?
Well, I used to do Middle Eastern dance, so I couldn't help getting up and dancing with her. And I feel full and fluid and inspired. And what a goddess, just I said that when beforehand we did a trial run of the video, just seeing her picture, I said, there's such a goddess there. And of course, we all are. All women are goddesses. And what I understand of that form of dance was it was developed to support fertility.
Mhm.
And actually the first birth that I attended, where the labor went on for 5 days, but the first few days, all of us there were dancing as support with the mother and doing that kind of dance and also African dance. And it's like, oh, hello.
Hi, Arthur.
Hi,
I'm so
Arthur.
glad to see you.
And I'm glad to meet you. But, dancing involving the pelvis, which is so a part of the body that's so taboo in our modern Western world, it's so important for being able to be present and embodied through the birth journey. And then afterwards, it enlivens the whole body and brings I did some continuum yesterday as part of what we were doing, which brings us into our inherent fluidity. What could be more supportive of breastfeeding than having our fluid be alive and flowing, right? And the fluidity of relationship, bonding, and attachment. So it's all so supportive.
I was
I'm so
captivated
touched by
speaking.
I'm so touched by our young mothers being here.
Women have danced to celebrate these important events for thousands of years. I mean, even to celebrate conception. I mean, even very what we call primitive indigenous, like the Himba, that they are one of the few tribes left uncontaminated by the Western influence. I don't know for how long, but they do very primal dancing when after conceiving, when they know that they've conceived a child, they dance in community and they dance during pregnancy and they dance when they give birth. So it's been with us really an expression of the body and feelings, and also a healing, tool, and also to bind as a means for cohesion within the community. So, I mean, dance is multiple functions.
Well, birth
So,
itself is a dance.
yes.
The process, and I think this is an important transmission for young mothers, and I know Courtney will speak to this, that the portrayal of birth itself as excruciating, agonizing pain, which is often there. I can't deny that, having delivered both of my children at home. There is pain, but the sensuality of that experience that results in life, in birth, that triumphs over that pain is a rite of passage and initiation, which is the title of today's program. And I was really captivated, referencing again what Cherionna said about attachment. I was captivated by Maha's countenance, by the directness of her gaze, by the unflinching clarity, not these proliferating false smiles that you see everywhere that people try to use as a statement of some kind of evolution. Instead, the female face and through her movement almost in the process of birth that is direct and unflinching. I am this. That's the message that I receive. I am this, and this is the fecundity of the earth.
And this is her personality.
Mm.
Her, I can tell you that you pick up, how we can absorb from the dance.
And our sisterhood, I feel our sisterhood is part of our transmission, the way you speak of Maha. And the way we've been in dialogue, Cherionna and Antonella and I, sharing our lives, sharing our children through creating this program, is the mother of medicine. So this is all part of the transmission to you, Courtney, to you, Chloe. And I'd like to start by giving us all, everyone attending here, and if you'd like to continue this conversation about the transmission of the Mother of Medicine today in the after chat, the link is available for you to join us, and you'll be able to be seen by us in the after chat. So we had a wonderful after chat yesterday with really rich conversation that was oriented towards the content of this program. We want to continue that. That was really fulfilling. So please join the after chat if you would like to engage directly. There was personal exchanges that really amplified what we presented yesterday, and we'd like to continue that today. And I'd like to turn over first to Chloe Waretini, who is with us from Quebec right now, but who is based in a beautiful little town, Raglan, in New Zealand, where I first met her, and her incredible son, Arthur. And Chloe is in the master's program of Regenerative Health for a Climate Changing World, which you can also join. It's a program of Ubiquity University. We started a little over 2 years ago. We've already graduated our first master's degree thesis in another cycle. We are representing here the maiden mother crone cycle that is highly interactive. And the thesis that has already been completed is on the menopausal years and new discoveries about meeting that cycle of life by the now MA Marion Welton Delafield, our first graduate. And Chloe will very likely be our second, as she's in the process of writing her thesis right now, which I will turn it over to her to tell you about. So we're going to all go off screen while Chloe speaks, and then Chloe will pass the baton to Courtney, and then we'll all come back on and respond to these young women who are receiving the transmission, carrying on the lineage of the Mother of Medicine.
Hi, everyone. My journey of motherhood, my son is just turned 4, has really been intertwined with this master's PhD regenerative health program that a lot of the speakers here are teaching on as well. And really, motherhood for me has been a rite of passage into self-nurturance. And that came from actually, sorry, I'm just noticing that just seeing myself on the screen and not seeing anyone else makes it really, really hard for me to talk. So I would really love if you could come, because I feel like I'm talking to myself. So if anyone from you, thank you, Courtney. I just, I can't talking at a screen into a vacuum and stay embodied at the same time. Yeah. And I really want to talk about this from a clear embodied place.
Thank you for asking for this.
Yeah, thank you. It
Yeah.
feels so much better with you here.
Yeah.
Because yeah, this is a lot about the circle for me as well, and us standing and rising together. And I have a lot more courage, I feel now, and a lot more presence. Yeah, my motherhood journey has been a lot about courage. The courage to start nurturing myself in a way that my parents, who were very loving and also very dissociated because of unresolved experiences from their lives, were not able to give me. And it's really been through meeting Stephanie just before my son was 2, and discovering Jinshin Tara when both of our nervous systems were in a real mess of grief from separating from my son's father and having to move back halfway across the world. And as I started practicing this medicine of nurturing effective touch on myself and my child every night once he was asleep, there were things that started to occur in me that had never occurred before. I don't remember before I got into this medicine actually ever feeling relaxed in my life. And I know now through my studies, my research, that this place of being relaxed in the present moment and open, which I call embodiment, I'm referring to as embodiment, is really the key to secure attachment. And not only the key to secure attachment, but also the key to going beyond the civilization of disconnection, of domination, and remembering, as Jim said, that remembrance happening through the body. And I was really focused on becoming a mammal. That was my goal for the first year of motherhood. But what I learned is I had a child who, like me, was highly sensitive, and needed a lot from me. I remember times when I was really looking like I was feeling so fried and really, really needing a break, and he would just be clinging to me. And at some point, and I was just like, oh, getting frustrated, like, can I ever get just like a moment to breathe? And then I suddenly realized he's worried about me. My child is worried about me. And so he doesn't want to leave me because he's worried about me. It wasn't that he was being demanding, he was worried. And that really opened up a different possibility for me. I had heard that, you know, as a mom, the best thing you can do is like look after yourself, but it was, you can know that intellectually, but having the courage to actually do it, to take time for myself, to nurture myself, to learn deeply how to do that, because I did not know how to do that. I come from a line of women, like many of us, who the goal was to be self-sacrificing, to put yourself last, to provide always for others. And I really question now whether you can do that and still stay in your body because there's so much overriding that needs to happen. And so the more I have learned to nurture myself, the more I have recreated my relationship with myself to be not so much just kind of overriding pressure, demands, and more one of attunement to my needs. I now have a very relaxed child, confident child. I see him doing all the things I couldn't do when I was a child. And I see myself starting to do them as well. And it's the most amazing process of unfoldment. And so now through my research and my practice, I really am committed to being a guide for other mothers and their little ones to realize this remembrance, this capacity for unfoldment, that embryonic intelligence that never dies, and that we can constantly be kind of reborn. And yeah, if I could say anything to any young mothers, it would be to say, you know, for me, the essence of having a child, small child, is being loved and needed in such an overwhelming way. And to just sink into it that your child so is biologically wired to want you to be thriving, because if you're not thriving as the mother, they cannot thrive. And so sinking into that absolute love and needing that they have for you, I think, is a lot of that path, because I think they're wired that way, not just for survival, but for the deepest happiness and satisfaction that we can really experience as humans. Yeah.
Do you want to speak at all, Chloe, to your vision for your thesis? And of course, I'm speaking beyond the thesis. I'm speaking to the program that you envision as being the representation of what you have learned and are continuing to learn.
Yeah, so right now I'm really diving into understanding through in-depth interviews what mother's experience of embodiment is. And this is from preconception through to their child being around 5 years old, and how that shows up for them. I really want to understand that really deeply, not just from my perspective, but from many, many different perspectives, so that I can really offer something that is going to be extraordinarily valuable and efficient and beneficial. And yeah, so that's I'm really in that immersion phase at the moment of soaking a lot in. But I will be publishing this as research, and really the hypothesis is that embodiment is or a very significant pathway for secure attachment, but also ecological belonging. And weaving those two things together, and that those two things as the greatest resource we can have, both as mothers, but the greatest resource we can give to our children at this time as well.
And can you
Yeah.
speak a bit more to your understanding that is evolving, but that is obvious to me as someone who's known you for some time and watched this evolution for both you and Arthur, what that embodiment has come to mean for you, and how that ecological consciousness that you're referencing, how that synthesizes with the embodiment.
Oh, my brain is struggling to go there today. I'm sorry, I'm very jet lagged.
Yeah, take your time.
For me, embodiment is really a sense of coming home. I think in myself and also to the earth. That's the clearest feeling and definition I have for it right now. It's a feeling, an experience of coming home.
And how do you feel that in your body? How do you recognize that you have come home?
My body, it's a sense of feeling undivided.
Mm.
Yeah, like a cool, clear pool of water where everything is fluid and connected, and there's not all these pushes and pulls and division and tension inside me.
And I've seen you do that in the midst of Arthur being quite demanding and many other things going on and needing your attention. I've seen you step into that place. Can you talk about that?
Oh, I think that is what I mean when I talk about surrendering into the amount of how much my son needs me and loves me. Is like in those moments where he needs me a lot or is demanding, or there's a unity that washes through me. And I know it's a sense of knowing this is exactly where I'm meant to be, and just devoting my whole heart, my whole focus, my whole world to just being that moment.
You are very fortunate to live in a place of great natural beauty. Can you speak to how you access that beauty of the natural world as a support for you? You're a single mom most of the time. I mean, you have the wonderful support of your parents, and the occasional time that Arthur has with his dad and his dad's community. But you're mostly a single mom. And the need for that support for yourself, I would say, is likely critical. And how have you been able to access the natural world as your partner?
Well, I live in New Zealand. The access to nature is really strong. I live 3 minutes walk from the beach. So swimming, being in the water by myself or else with Arthur is always a really resourcing thing. Like if we're ever getting a bit sick or we've had a bad sleep, or we just get in the water in whatever way we can. And getting into the forest, the trees. But actually the thing that I do every night, as he's got to sleep and I'm just allowing that my full attention to come back to myself. I often lay face down on my bed, like tummy down. And I just know that this bed, even if it's, something manufactured, it is made of the earth. And I just say, hold me, Mama, hold me. and just really, and allow my full, allow that feeling of just being held by something much bigger. And to allow myself that I was a child that was really sensitive, really high needs, but shut down my needs as much as I could, and had a lot of shame about needing to be held. And so to just be able to lie face down in my bed, Mama, hold me, hold me, hold me, hold me.
Put that in the book. Put that in the thesis, which will become a book.
Yeah, that's become a really powerful ritual for me.
So you mentioned this early sensitivity that you had. You're still incredibly sensitive, but you are accessing it as your creative being, and the struggles you had as a child with that sensitivity. How has your own exploration of those struggles and the traumas involved with those struggles contributed to your capacity to be this grounding force that is still authentically you, that has this clarity come over you? How has that exploration of your own history helped?
A memory, whenever I was getting into my prenatal memory, I had a couple of really significant traumas in that time. I lost a twin. I also, in a fit of fury at 30 weeks, kicked my mother's placenta, and she ended up hemorrhaging and nearly dying, which really made me very afraid of my emotions and my feelings, in the sense of I need to keep it all contained. But the overwhelming haunting sense that I had throughout all the memories I've come into of being in my mother's body was that it was a sense of there's no one there. It's absent. It's kind of, there's no warmth, there's no juiciness, there's no and it was really lonely, especially after losing my twin. I felt really alone in my mother's womb, really, really alone. And it's the sense that she thought I would only really sense that I would only really exist once I was out of her, once I was born. But I was having all these really big experiences while I was inside. And that was so different for when I was pregnant, because I had, through my sensitive gifts, actually made contact with my son's kind of spirit, a couple of years before he was conceived, and made an agreement with him in my body. Okay, you come when you're ready. That as soon as the communication between us was there, and we were a team right from the start. And that was before I had dived into my own perinatal memory. But I think that instinct, that knowing inside of me that, this is a real person inside me right from the start, that's having their own life, that has their own character already, that has their own mission and purpose of being here, and I'm there to support that. That was really strong from the start. And I think my mum's my sense of feeling so lonely when I was in utero really fed my capacity to connect with my son when he was inside me.
Thank you. You're really demonstrating the prenatal origins of health, and how the mother of medicine, the regenerative health pathway, incorporates that into finding wholeness on every level, the multi-level health that comes in the form of resilience, which is
Mm.
actually what you're describing is resilience. You have bounced back from those early struggles,
Yeah.
not only in your own personal life and in your own personal well-being, but in what you can transmit to your son and also to the larger world.
Mm.
That's the orientation of regenerative health. That's the evolution of consciousness specifically that is needed at this time as things are disintegrating, as so much destruction
Mm.
is proliferating around
Yeah.
us. This is the embodiment of what is rising out of those ashes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was unsure for a lot of my life about whether I wanted to become a mom. I had that longing inside me, but I really questioned whether it was something that aligned with my values. And so like I interviewed my grandparents in England who grew up in the war, and I like because I was like, okay, how do I feel? Am I ready? Am I willing to actually bring a child into a world that's falling apart in quite a violent way? And um and the thing about Arthur and why we gave him that name is because, man, he has been up for it from the start, and he came into my body in the midst of the first wave of the COVID pandemic. I was very surprised about that timing, and I considered it meaningful that by choosing that timing, he was communicating something to me. And yeah, he's a very brave child and very confident and very purpose driven. And my job as a mom is just to not let that get civilized out of him.
Well done, Chloe. Really well done.
Thank you.
And I just want to speak for Dr. Allie Davis, who is unable to join us, that actually Chloe has depicted many of the aspects of what Allie, who is the mother of two little girls, has created in her mother tree method, which she's already begun to assemble into a book, which I hope to help have published. We're already making some progress with that. That very much sums up this process of young mothers in a world that is in the process of complete dissimulation, complete melting away, fading away, being shot away, being violently pushed away, that out of that, the mothers in particular find their mother support in the earth and how to do that. So what you were saying about lying down on the bed at night on your belly and saying, Mama, hold me, that simple mammalian gesture is now out there as a resource and will be part of what you can offer people who come together seeking those resources. You're well on your way to manifesting your original brilliance, Chloe.
Thank you. Yeah, I see the world as it's reconstituting itself, right? And I think what I have done as a mother has been a journey of reconstituting myself to be ready for these times and to be a resource for these times. And the particular reconstitution that mine took is around embodiment and self-nurturance.
Exquisite.
Exquisite.
We'd love you to chime in, Courtney. I can see you beaming in resonance with Chloe's comments, and you've had the fortune of being with Chloe in many of the regenerative health classes.
Yes. Oh, I feel a little emotional because it's just really special to be sharing together with you, Chloe. And I feel I'm like living that moment of just surrendering to the mother with tears, saying, hold me. And I've been there. And yeah, it's a catharsis, and it's so healing to let ourselves feel that emotion and let us move it through and down and into the earth. And you've reminded me to do that before, and I appreciate your teaching and also your teaching an invitation to be more embodied and present with our children. They're just this flow of joy, and they're not holding back their emotion. They're telling us exactly what they need. And what Antonella has shared over the days too about what she's witnessed in indigenous cultures, that it's all just this dance of attunement and responding to each other. Um, I wanted to share an image that came to mind when we saw Maha dancing, and then her words of remembering that birth is of the earth. And this image came to mind that almost was like a memory, although this wasn't how I gave birth. This woman like squatting in the forest, and just like the blood and the energy, like it's coming from the core of the earth and up and down her spine. And she's a portal of this baby coming through. Uh, and when I gave birth, I was at home, and I know Chloe was at home too. Uh, I I thought, oh, I'm going to just surrender and have this orgasmic meditative birth. And it was a surrender, but it was a surrender to the power of my body and the intelligence of it. And it was more like being on a wooden roller coaster, where I was like, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster. And like the noises coming out of me, I thought I sound like a wild goat. And I was just observing and letting it happen. And it was not quite pain, but it was very powerful and intense. Um, so I just wanted to share that, but I also wanted to start more with a different theme that came to me this morning. I had the chance to plant a lily that I bought for Corley's first birthday last week, and I was waiting to decide where to plant it. And I had saved 2 capsules of my placenta that we had freeze dried and encapsulated that I ate every day until I just had 2 left. And then I saved them for a year. And so I planted them this morning in the garden with that lily. And then I realized I really want to share about my sister who, it's no coincidence, I guess, that May 12th was 8 years since she passed away. She passed very suddenly. She was hiking and she fell in a canyon. And so it was really just so shocking. But the wound of that, my heart just broke open. And I knew I really wanted to cultivate sisterhood in my life. She was my only blood sister. And the gift, I felt like she was like my guardian angel, guiding me to cultivate sisterhood. And that has unfolded in this past 8 years, just an amazing journey of finding women like Stephanie and Chloe. And I also began studying Ayurveda and found any sisters there, and a priestess path, Western herbalism, the wise woman tradition, a study called a program called Medicine Mandala that I began just a few months after my sister passed. And it was all about sisterhood and those programs. It sounds diminishing to call them programs because they've just been these life paths that have woven together and taught me about the spiral path and taught me how to listen to the earth and heal my body. My cycle had stopped. To layer onto the story, of about 6 months after my sister passed, my fiance at the time just completely succumbed to his addiction and PTSD. He had been a Marine. So talk about, men being underserved, the men who are put into war and just not served by the community. They feel very abandoned when they come home. And he beat me up really just close to an inch within my life. And that was January 2018. And then I joined the Medicine Mandala program a few months after that. And my cycle, I believe, was healed through sisterhood and ancestral foods, the plants, nettles and mugwort. Just, gosh, I just want to pause and breathe into just the mystery and the beauty that can come from so much pain, and the gratitude I feel for being brought into the lives of these women who have taught me so much, and that gave me the hope that I want to be a mother, that it's worth bringing children into this world, that life is beautiful. Courtleigh's in my lap. Maybe I'll just show her. And playing with her, and she's so joyful. And motherhood now for me is, deciding that I want to teach her these things that I've learned. I don't have to just surrender to the status quo and try to recreate the life that I grew up with as if that is like some ideal that we can why not teach her about the Tara approach and continuum and the indigenous cultures and work on a garden, and why not do that? And yeah, we'll learn some math and some writing, but what is our education system if not learning how to be sovereign beings on this earth? So a really key word, I would say, sovereignty. I'm a sovereign being in my body. How can I be sovereign on this earth that everything I need is just flowing from the earth and from my community, my sisterhood, my family? Yeah. So thank you. And Stephanie, you've been in my life since 2020, and it's been a spiral path and just feels like divine guidance. Yeah, we are family.
So if I may say so, Courtney, what I feel I'm bearing witness to right now in this present moment is a rite of passage for you. What I'm observing, what I'm experiencing, having known you this time, is, and I hope I'm mirroring something that is resonant with you, is that in this very moment, I hope you are learning that by just being who you truly are, spontaneously, authentically, without trying to please anyone other than yourself, other than honoring your true expression, you are manifesting all you need to manifest as your original brilliance, as your purpose in being here. I hope everyone on this program, all the ones that we cannot see, are experiencing something akin to what I'm experiencing, which is, let us listen to the mothers of medicine, the young and the old. Let us take the time to imbibe, to receive this wisdom, that is innate, that is our indigeneity, that we are, as Maha said in her transmission, we are all born on country. Of course, in Australia, country means this land. The land in Te Reo Maori, the word for the placenta is whenua, and the word for the land is whenua. The Maori people are tangata whenua. All Maori people, all people are tangata whenua, the people of the land. That's the wisdom I do my best to transmit through my book that's coming out, The Spirit of Manaki, that Mata Wharihoka, whose transmission as a Maori woman, as a Maori healthcare provider, as an advocate for Maori women's health, I'm still incredibly humbled and still not understanding why she asked me to write it, but I have written it. And Mata is now my ancestor, and this wisdom of Tangata Whenua, the people of the land, and Mata's stalwart, unrelenting insistence on conveying that no matter what happened, no matter the repeated decimation of her people, no matter the abuse, unrelentingly continuing to speak as Tangata Whenua. That's what the spirit of Manaki is about, how we do that, how we actually do it. And you are doing it, both Chloe and Courtney. And it is my honor. It is truly my honor to hear you today. This is the mother of medicine. She cries. She cries because our people are being attacked, but we will rise. Birth triumphs over disaster. And as I approach just a few days from now, my 81st year, I am fulfilled in this moment, as you will undoubtedly carry forward the lineage of the mother of medicine. Undoubtedly, I have not any question. Namihi. Thank you. Thank you. We're not afraid to cry, we mothers of medicine, in front of people and show our children and talk about the assaults against us. We're not afraid to do that. And that's what makes us whole. Mata Wharihoka, absolutely fearless. And so are we. Oh, please, now that we have heard from our young women, Antonella, Cherionna, come on in. Antonella, you're muted.
First of all, deeply thanks for sharing. It was really powerful. Both of you. The courage of motherhood is incredible. But what comes straight to my heart is that the need of these young women for not even the mother, the grandmother, and the grandmother nature. You know, indigenous women call the grandmother tree. I see such a deep, deep need. I mean, they were lucky to meet you because you represent the wisdom, the listening, the connection, the grandmother, which is actually going lost in our society. And that's why what Mother of Medicine represent, the recuperation, the reviving of all this. And our humanity will be saved only if our survival will depend on this. If we really, reclaim what has guided mothers and humanity for thousands and thousands of years.
Mm.
Thank you, Antonella. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I'm feeling so deeply touched. My tears have been touched. And by both of you and your stories and how much you've been through and how, yeah, birth comes through, the original potential comes through. I'm just feeling to share something that came up for me listening and feeling with you, Courtney. That I haven't had my own biological children, although by some miracle I'm now a grandmother. I'm very grateful that my husband had two girls, and now one of them's had two girls. So I get to be the tree. Um, but I didn't have my own children because I felt too wounded. And I didn't want to pass on what had happened to me. And I was working to clear that. And by the time I felt ready to have a child and was actually healthy enough to have a lasting relationship, which I've been in now for 17 years, totally unheard of for me in the past. The first time that Franklin and I actually got together, not on Skype, it was Skype back then. We didn't have Zoom yet. I had just had my first year since my last period, marking that I was officially in menopause. And, I missed my chance. And I feel so touched by both of your stories, that and how much Stephanie and other elders have influenced you and supported you so that you don't have to do that. You've been able to have your babies, or each a baby so far, and be amazing mothers from what I can tell. So I'm hoping that what we're trying to do here with this series and the summit, and that, the crowns, the elders can pass on enough that the younger generations don't have to suffer as much. And related to that, I wanted to say one other thing. I could talk a lot, but I won't. But just hearing you, Chloe, talk about self-sacrifice as, what's expected, and probably all of us have had that as a background. And it occurred to me, I'm really looking at the feminine being in shadow. And that with the feminine being in shadow, what's expected of women is to be self-sacrificing instead of being what Maha was demonstrating, like that inwardly sourced, powerful strength and beauty, that fluidic strength and power. And I'm glad you gave that up. And, probably we all have to some extent. I still working with that one, but maybe a lifelong process. And, it's a cultural shadow like women are supposed to do everything, right?
Mm.
And yeah, we're good multitaskers, but part of the everything needs to be taking care of ourselves so that we can really be there for our children. And then, of course, yeah, then they can settle, they can relax, feel safe. So I was struck by that. And yeah, such gratitude and appreciation for both of you and Stephanie for bringing them here and supporting
Mm.
this
Mm.
cycle of evolution.
So that's exactly the point of this focus on transmission and the necessity, because we are in a new era of coming out of the shadow cast over the feminine, transmit the specific resources. And that's what Dr. Allie Davis does in her Mother Tree Method. I want to reference that. Since she's not here, I want everyone to know that that is a resource. She is definitely a resource in this regard. The actual ways that we can find the kind of clarity of consciousness. I loved how you said that, Chloe, that this clarity just comes over you, this unity. I think unity was the word that you used, because that is also my experience, that when we know what our priorities are, this unity washes over you and you are aligned and you are unified, organized within yourself, so that you know that your priority is your child and that you can attend to that and simultaneously be attending to whatever else needs to be attended to in its right order and time. The resources of how we get there and the role of nature in finding that level of consciousness, alignment, and evolution of humanity, which women are more likely to embody than men. And I do not say that angrily at men or criticizing men. The men in my life are precious. I love them. But because of an inherent neuroplasticity that women have and their inherent attention to the resolution of trauma, and I am not saying that simply because it fits my premises, it is scientifically documented that women's brains evolve more in the direction of evolution, of neuroplasticity, which is evolution. Evolution is ongoing neuroplasticity, because they are engaging in activities and in relationships and in studies and in choices that lend themselves to the resolution of trauma. Men are more reluctant, less likely to engage as wholeheartedly and thoroughly as women do in that way. And so women's brains are, as a result, if you know anything about neuroscience, you understand exactly what I'm saying, that what is fires gets wired. And the only way that that shifts is when you engage very deliberately and specifically in cultivating neuroplasticity. If you don't cultivate it, it won't happen.
Mm.
And women are drawn to what cultivates neuroplasticity, and men are less drawn. Traditionally, I do say this with the greatest compassion for men, and speaking, to Courtney's comments about the impacts on veterans. My book, They Were Families, How War Comes Home, is devoted to this topic. How our inability to address the global consequences of this addiction to war has resulted in damages beyond those particular individuals. When I was doing my clinical research into autism that got published in my book, New Frontiers in Sensory Integration, what I learned was that the children of veterans are 80% more likely to be diagnosed with autism than the general population. Why doesn't everybody know this? This is published research. The children of veterans are 80% more likely to be diagnosed with autism than the general population. And so that is what led to my next book. They Were Families, How a War Comes Home. I am the daughter of a veteran. That played a role in what I experienced and what I have now transcended. How did I get there? That's what is in the TARA approach, the hands-on tools that Chloe spoke to, the way that gentle self-care touch, which also can become a practice you can share with others, reorganizes the nervous system, fortifies the immune system, but beyond that, it's an indigenous system. It's an ancient system that I have updated for these times. It promotes the evolution of consciousness through the magnification of the rivers of splendor, the vitalization of the rivers of splendor, which are the embryological channels that form prenatally, that are our birthright, that are the lubricating channels, the rivers that everyone has to manifest, to flow into. That word is the iconic word for today's program, for Maha's presentation. Meant to flow. We are meant to flow, as we see Arthur doing, as we see Coralie doing, named for your sister, Courtney. We are meant to flow into original brilliance. We are meant to flow, to use Cherionna's words, means something slightly different, but close enough. We are meant to flow from our original embryological potential. So we are going to come to closure shortly. I think Jim is not with us because he had to go to another program. Once again, I want to invite everyone to come to the after chat. You will be seen. If you care to, you can come to the after chat and be off camera. That's fine. But in the after chat, we can begin to go a little deeper. We can't be there for an extended period, but we can be there for 30, 45 minutes to tap into more of this content. If you really are compelled by this material, if this calls to you deeply, if it feels like it resonates with your original brilliance, with your purpose in being, then we welcome you to the summit, November 7th through the 9th. We will have the presence of others in this field, like the epic Jaap van der Wal, astounding embryologist who has influenced many of us, who is inimitable, so inspiring and so knowledgeable and so rooted in his understanding of the science of embryogenesis, and others. I also want to tell you about tomorrow. So tomorrow is our summary day, and we will be speaking to why it is so essential that the prenatal origins of health be included in all psychotherapy, in all education, as well as in all healthcare practices. We will have with us additional speakers. We will have, can you share the colleague you invited, Cherionna, so that people can know about her?
Yeah.
Bonnie
Batenok is an amazing psychotherapist, in case you haven't encountered her. And I've taken several courses with her. We've become friends because of the resonance between our work, really. But I wanted to invite her to come because when pre and perinatal material has come up in when she's doing a demonstration with somebody in course, she totally knows how to meet it. And it's very familiar to her. So I know she has some stories to tell tomorrow. So I don't think they're about clients, but should be really interesting. And I just love her. I think she's amazing.
That's wonderful. I'm so grateful that Cherionna and Antonella have invited their colleagues and their friends. And Bonnie will be demonstrating why this awareness of the prenatal origins of health really needs to be included in all psychotherapists training, as well as in the medical profession. And you know, it's sad and odd that when you speak about this to many psychotherapists, to many educators in the field, as well as even to people in the medical profession, I've trained family birthing unit staff, and the nurses who are on the family birthing unit team know nothing about embryology. And when I try to talk to them about it, they say, we never learned this. So bringing this material into that field and breaking down that shadow, to use Cherionna's understanding, is a major aspect of the Mother of Medicine. And I'm very happy to tell you that tomorrow, Rosaria Gracia will be back with us with another movement invocation.
She was wonderful.
Yeah, and I have expressed your appreciation, Cherionna, and the appreciation of everyone for Rosaria's incredible presence, demonstrating, as Maha did today, how movement articulates the Mother of Medicine. So please join us in the after chat. Join us at the Mother of Medicine Summit if you are really wanting to go deep to become a mother of medicine yourself, and you can be male and become a mother of medicine. Your gender can be whatever you want it to be, and you can be a mother of medicine, and certainly you can become a regenerative health practitioner. Chloe is embodying what that means more than any promotion, marketing, advertising, flyer that I could ever create. Thank you, everyone. And see you in the after chat. There's usually a little break. People have to go to the bathroom and get some water, but within a few
Imagine if the
moments.
Mother of Medicine was taught in school.
Imagine, yes. We will make this happen, Antonella. We will.
Yes.
Such a shift.
We will. We will do it.
As the future parents. You know.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yes, Antonella. Yeah. Okay, everyone. See you
See you
soon.
there.
Yeah.
See you